We also talked about the Knicks a little bit yesterday, and after we taped the podcast yesterday morning, Brian Windhurst went on ESPN and talked about the likelihood of Giannis going to the Knicks, and it wasn't very good, meaning that the Knicks aren't going to be overly aggressive with Giannis. And we kind of alluded to this actually in yesterday's podcast before that report even came out that, if the Knicks don't make any moves, big moves, they're still good. We can nitpick, and we are at a championship level, which is a good thing. It's actually a great thing. The fact that the Knicks are a championship caliber team or a team that is in the championship conversation. I think the NBA is maybe more open this year with balance and parity than we've seen in recent years. I still think the Thunder are the favorite, and I'd still favor some of the teams in the West over the East, but I think it's wide open, and the Knicks are one of those teams, whether it's the Pistons, the Heat, the Celtics, whatever you want to, the Sixers, the Cavs, like pick a team from the East. Wouldn't be stunned really if any of those teams ended up going to the going to the NBA Finals and winning the Eastern Conference Finals. But if the Knicks didn't get Giannis, it's not, oh no, what are we gonna do? It's all right. Well, let's see what this team could do, and that's kind of the mentality that the Knicks have. With that being said, I still think that they can get Giannis. I still think it's possible. I still believe Giannis wants to be a Knick more than anything else. And even though he doesn't fully control that, we've seen times before where players do control it and teams have to acquiesce to their star player, even though it's not the best deal for them. Let's just deal with some facts here. Should the Knicks go after Giannis? I believe that they should because I don't believe Karl Anthony Towns is the right star to get them over the hump and win a championship. That's still TBD. I, Sal Licata, believe that this group will not win a championship. I'm curious to see how it plays out if they don't break it up and, if they don't trade for Giannis or don't trade for anybody else and break it up. I'm curious to see how far they could go, see if they can prove me wrong, but I don't believe in it. So I would break up this group, specifically Karl Anthony Towns and Bridges if they had to go, and try to get Giannis. So would we do that? Yes. Okay. Do they need to do that? They don't need to do it now, and they still could do it again in the offseason if they don't do it now. So no matter how this shakes out, the Knicks are in a good spot because the other fact is that they can compete legitimately for a championship with or without Giannis. Where there were times in the past where it's, if they don't get this star, they don't have any shot. That's not the case now. So it's still dealing from a position of strength, which I like. And, which either way, they'd be okay. But I do prefer trying to get him or somebody else for that matter. It doesn't just have to be him. We talked about that yesterday. I just think it's time to move on from Karl Anthony Towns. And if you ask me, and we did this last night on Sports Night on SNY, what the one thing I think is lacking, well, I actually think it's two things. I think the Knicks could do better at head coach. I think Mike Brown, well, I think he's a clown. I know the Knicks have done a good job here the last 6 games turning it around, but I think I'd feel better about the Knicks if they had Tibbs versus Mike Brown. But the main thing is, I think, consistency. I think the Knicks are lacking consistency, whether that's Towns playing at a high level consistently through the best, toughest opponents and toughest teams in the postseason, cleaning up his game, not as sloppy with the offensive foul. So there are, Bridges not being consistent, the defense not being consistent. They can do it. They're doing it at a high level the last 6 games. So we know they could do it. They've done it at a high level a lot in the regular season over the last 2 years. So it's not, what do the Knicks need? Well, there's a glaring piece. Could they use backup guard? Sure. Could they use a backup big? Sure. Obviously those little pieces to try to round out the team here. We talked about better depth on the bench. We thought that they were going to have Clarkson, Yabusele. Those guys haven't been used. So that just shows you how much of a miss that was. As a matter of fact, I think both those guys would have been better under Tibbs and in Tibbs' rotation, as odd as that sounds. Maybe Shamet would have had less of a role, but maybe the other guys would have had more use with Clarkson and Yabusele. Anyway, the Knicks have some depth. They have, obviously, a lot of talent. The consistency is the one thing that I think is lacking, and ultimately the thing that's probably going to hold them back from being a legitimate championship team. But, we'll see what happens over the next couple of days here, what moves they make, what moves they don't make. The Knicks are still in a strong position here to go make a run at getting themselves to an NBA Finals with or without Giannis. But the facts are, in my opinion, I think they'd be better by breaking up Towns and this group and chasing the star. The other fact is Giannis wants out. So he's going to be available, and that's a major star that's available. And the other fact is, unfortunately, a lot of teams want in on him, whether it's the Warriors, the Heat, the T-Wolves. Those are just some of the teams that are in a better position to give a better offer right now. The Knicks can't make the best offer for him, which is really the only reason why we're hesitant to say, okay, well, this is going to happen.